Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there, and a good morning at you. It's the last day of the first month of 2023. And my sister's with us. Hi.
Hi.
See? I was totally certain of it. Okay, so we gotta backtrack. Last week we were talking about was it last week I was talking about the M&M's thing?
Yeah.
Okay. And I was really
you were terribly upset that your cute little candies had been retired in a total capitulation to idiots.
Yeah, that Tucker Carlson and Fox had won, picking this absurd fight, and that the corporate candy makers had caved. Hey, that corporate candy makers had caved. Alliterative.
I know. Very good.
But here's what I want to say. We all got played.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Here's why I know. I happened to see a doctor yesterday. I went in. There was a People magazine there. Picked it up. And it had, when you open the front cover, it had one of those covers that then opens again. And it literally was I've got it right here. I stole it. A 1, 2, 3, 4. 4-page.
Stole it.
And then on
you
the back,
stole it as evidence for your podcast, which isn't videotaped.
Right.
Okay, good work. Good work.
All right. 5, 6. Okay. There are 6 full-page, full-color back and front of this. I think it's this month. Yeah, it would be. It's the newest People. Oh, I have to bring it back. I mean, it's the doctor's office that actually has current issues, which is why they probably get ripped off all the time. Anyway, I felt bad, but I thought, I'm sorry. I gotta have this.
I'm a reporter.
Yeah, this is evidence of yeah. So anyway, each page is a different friggin' M&M, and they're all talking about their change in their lives and what they're going to do. And the yellow one on the back, has decided he'll represent Snickers bars instead, and he's got an S for Snickers taped to his little yellow belly.
I do believe that I suggested that they had to be nuts not to be playing along with this because of the great publicity.
Well, this is ludicrous. So the thing is, it's a fake People cover, and it says, "Where are they now?" Find out, it's all this stuff. Exclusive M&M's put spokes candies on pause, and then they have a little thing on green stepping up her game and purple her high notes and all this crap. I'm just saying, Mars or whatever. They're playing this, and I just think you're the only one that's that hadn't considered that. Now, please, I don't think that's true.
Well, you blew me off when I suggested it last week.
Well, here's what's happening. I think. Expect a big blowout ad at the Super Bowl.
Well, we'll see.
That'd be the timing.
But they'd have to have the ad produced and the time bought in anticipation. Yeah. I'm not so sure that will happen.
Well, I got to feel there's no way. I mean, it made no sense that you dump a campaign as that they had that was in fact effective. I think this thing. Well, anyway, I'm just.
Well, what do you think? You think Tucker Carlson was in on it and they're in cahoots?
Oh, the plot thickens.
The plot thickens. I mean, they could have paid him to do this because it's not like the journalist. They could have said, let's do this and we'll have a great thing and you'll get publicity and we'll get publicity and it'll be great.
Could be.
Yep.
Could be. The thing is, I'm just as pissed because I hate being played. I hate being jerked around. And there was another thing that I got jerked around with last night on Twitter. And I always think of myself as relatively media savvy. Media savvier than most, just by virtue of having been in media my entire adult life. So, but there was a tweet and it looked like it was from Marjorie Taylor Greene's account. Can I find it here? Hang on. Well, dang it. I can't find it.
You got to screenshot these things when you see them.
I did screenshot it. I'm having trouble getting the screenshot to come up.
Go to your photos. Go to your photos.
Susan, let me go. I'm in them. Here it is. Okay. And it's Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it's her, picture, and it says Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. And then here's what she says. It was, okay. Republicans are the only all-cap party who successfully thinned our own herd. Now, wait a minute. She spells herd, H-E-A-R-D.
A-R-D, of course.
Yeah, right.
That's how you knew for sure it was her.
Yeah, who successfully thinned our own herd, getting rid of the weak and unhealthy among us during COVID. It's called natural selection, and it's science. Look it up. So here is Marjorie Taylor Greene admitting that she knew that they were killing off their own base. She's saying we only wanted, we were culling the herd, H-E-R-D.
Like any good Nazi. Yes.
Yeah, I could so not believe. I was like, what? And I took a screenshot because I intended to just freak out about this. Before that, though, I started scrolling to see what some of the
comments were, replies.
Yes, comments. And they were, like mine, just gab-smacked. You mean they're saying this out loud? Oh, my God.
I think it's gobsmacked, but go ahead.
It's what? Gobsmacked.
You said gab-smacked.
I said gab-smacked? Yes. Did I really?
Yes.
Did I really?
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. I said go ahead twice.
Jesus. Okay. Well, I'll be gobsmacked.
There you go.
Gabsmacked? Jesus. All right. Wants to listen to this.
Okay, so how did you find out it wasn't? How did you find out it wasn't MTG?
Someone finally, like 20,000 comments down, said it's not real. It's not real. Check the fine print. So I go back to it, and man, it is fine print. Way at the bottom. In letters that are thin and dark and not, you don't see them. It says parody by Back Rub, some group called Back Rub. Now, I do want to say this. Hell of a parody.
It was well done.
Wonderful. Really well done. Really well done. But I got pissed then. I thought, I almost took this, ran with it, was going to be spreading this as if she had really said it. And this is how, again, I would have been spreading, false information, fake news. It is just, I don't understand why nobody believes anything.
Lynn, in your defense, Lynn, your natural, let's see, went in and you started reading replies and comments. I mean, maybe just to make sure that everybody was responding like you, but eventually you came to the person that said, who was the fact checker that said it's a parody. Go look. And so I wouldn't be beating myself up. You did not. You did not. Now the M&M's thing, that you can beat yourself up.
Yeah. And Gigi says, next time, Lynn, don't steal the page. Just take
terrible.
A photo. All right, I'll bring it back. Or
even buy yourself a copy. The poor beleaguered.
All right. The poor beleaguered doctor?
No, the poor beleaguered magazine business.
Oh. Yeah, I suppose. Come to think of it.
Yeah.
All right. So, so we got that. So, it's easy to say horrible things about Marjorie Taylor Greene without having to make up things coming,
Not the least of which is that she's, gone from infamy to second in command.
Yeah. Amazing. Just flat out amazing. And hoping, if all the scuttlebutt is true, although it'd be a bad move, I think, to be Trump's vice
running mate, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. God,
what a shit show! Excuse my language.
No, really, seriously, unbelievable. I came across the greatest quote from a guy who, when they say, like, if you were giving a dinner party and you could, invite anyone, 3 people, alive or dead, who would you have? This guy is always on my list. Mark Twain. I love him. I just love him. And I even have the hots for him. I do. Mark Twain. So he said this. This is so smart. Good judgment comes from experience. And experience comes from bad judgment.
That's right.
That's how I've lived my life. It's absolutely true.
That's absolutely true. If you make no mistakes, you never learn.
You don't learn a thing. It's
the same with unhappiness and tragedy falling into your life. If everything is always hunky dory,
you don't grow.
You don't grow. You don't see what you're capable of. None of that.
Right. Exactly true. My God.
Not that I wish the kind of pain and horror on people that this country is regularly inflicting these days, but,
Oh, God. So, speaking of Donald Trump, this is hard to believe not. And I love the way it was reported in the magazine, which I didn't steal, The Week. And it says this is a good week for comebacks after an elderly Florida man boasted he won his golf club senior championship despite missing the tournament's first day. Donald Trump, 76, credited his strength and stamina for the math-defying victory at the Trump International Golf Club. What do you believe he had to win? So they made him the winner, and he. I mean, what kind of an? Wow. What a weak little.
He's a 3-year-old. With apologies to 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
He's a spoiled little undisciplined, wild 3-year-old.
Or is it just him playing this part?
No, I think at this point. No, I think at this point it's really what you see is what you get. It would be too exhausting otherwise.
Just unbelievable. We've got a caller. Hello.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Clarence.
Hello. Sorry to call 2 days in a row. But you were talking about 3 people that you can have at a dinner party. And interesting, you said Mark Twain. Interestingly enough, I was watching something about Albert Einstein. What a genius and all this kind of good stuff. And I thought to myself, we have our ideas of who these famous people were throughout history. People, and I thought to myself, at one point there was a guy who passed the patent office that Einstein was coming out of, and said hello, and then Einstein said hello, and we don't know who that guy is who passed Einstein. So there's all these famous people. So when you said that about Mark Twain, I thought to myself, I would like to have Mark Twain's cousin at a dinner party. Somebody who knew Mark Twain as a kid, who knew
where the bodies were buried.
Exactly. I would like to know people who knew Mark Twain, or any other famous person, like Einstein's, physics teacher, something like that. Those people. Unnamed people who know these famous people. It would be really interesting because, how history is written and biographies are written and all that kind of stuff. They only pick out, most of the time, some of the, accomplishments of some of these people.
Yeah, but having the real deal there at your own dinner table would allow you to decide whether or not they were the real deal, right?
How dare you, Lynn? Makes sense out of my philosophical slot. I was thinking, look how smart I am. I want to meet the cousin, and then you're like, but why don't you just talk to him yourself? Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
No, but Einstein wouldn't. Einstein probably wouldn't offer up what an awful human being he was to his wife. He'd dazzle you with,
he was hard.
How dare you, Susan? How dare you come up with a better answer than this bitch?
And here's the other thing, Clarence.
Okay,
here's the other thing. Think of your cousin. I'm sure there's a gazillion of them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, 1 or 2 of your cousins might be a lot of fun to quiz about you, and they would be honest and full of great stories, and others would be boring and dull. So it doesn't work. You have to know who. You'd have to vet these people.
Lynn, how dare you call her after Lynn? I mean, what Susan just said was a better concept. See, wait a minute. I want to take us a little bit further. This is what conversations are about, and sharing of ideas. What we just did right there with that little thing.
That's right.
That is true.
Conversation is like jazz. You riff off of each other, and you're either good at it or you're not.
Yeah, and this is this is one of those things about how social media has separated us from talking to each other. We're all in our own little groups. But I think that wasn't intending to go that direction, but what just happened there was like a perfect example of how conversation leads to education, and that kind of thing. It's like, wow, that's because I did literally. I was jumping. I was like, oh yeah, that makes. When you said, I said that makes more sense than what I just said. Susan Cullen went, well, that makes more sense than you, Cullen. Like, well, that makes more sense. So that was fun. This might be the most fun conversation I've had on your show in the last, Lynn, over 30 years.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. Yeah, I know. I doubt it, though. Really?
I don't know.
This was the most fun. I doubt it. You can't even remember them all. There have been some good ones.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, thank you, because and thanks for pointing out that the conversation is an art that is increasingly being lost, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, because especially because everybody has, went to their own corners and listening to people who constantly agree with them. They don't want to, it's like, oh, I don't want to. Somebody said to me one time, I'm sorry to go on a tangent, I don't want to argue about this, and I had to say to them, well, I disagree. And I said, you can't have a conversation where there's a disagreement, where there's not an argument. It's an argument. It has to. So I said, if you want to preach, that's one thing. But if you want to have a conversation, and I disagree, we're going to have to argue. Yeah.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, but people think of argument as bad because they think it's,
well, it's like the word critical.
Anger. Yeah. Which is, not. They think of that as a negative, and it is not necessarily. Right. I don't know.
Yeah, a defense attorney makes an argument.
Yeah, because so I use the word debate. Because they think argument, two people screaming at each other as opposed to opposing views. So there you go.
Well, thanks for all of that.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on going there, but have a nice day.
And if you want, when Mark Twain comes to dinner, I'll have you too. Okay?
You know what? He can't use that N word before my name, though.
What?
Wait
Get out of here.
Did he write that book? Did he write that book? With,
he wrote
N-word?
That book.
Yeah.
Very thin. Yes, he did.
He might not call me Clarence from Cansburg. I might be N-word Clarence to him, but I'll deal with it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I thought it was a good joke anyway. All right. Okay. Bye.
That brings up a whole other potential conversation.
I think that's sort of interesting, though, because you guys are coming up with these famous people, and my immediate instinct is if I could have a dinner with anybody alive and dead, I'd have my husband, my father, his grandparents, his parents who I'd never met.
You only get three.
But you know what I mean? I just want to see the people that I love that I can't see anymore.
Yeah. But I think that the question really is, it's what famous people would you choose?
All right. Well,
because I think we all would, yes, if you could. I mean, my problem is then worrying about whether they get along, because the odds are they all have big egos, right? So would Ben Franklin and Mark Twain get along? I don't know. I would think they would.
Well, I think Ben was a rather jovial person, and so was Mark. I think they'd enjoy the hell out of each other.
Yeah, I think there'd be a lot of laughter. But interestingly enough, what Clarence just brought up is one of the subjects that I also wanted to talk about. And it has to do with phone calls. I rarely call anyone on the phone.
Me either. Either does Mother. We have phone phobias. It's almost impossible for me to initiate a phone call.
Right. I rarely, and if I'm going to phone, I often text before and say, is it a good time for a phone call? Or are you around? Or whatever. And I guess what I'm thinking, and yet there are some people in my life who haven't gotten the memo that things have changed, and phone calls, unexpected phone calls, are frankly seem
intrusive.
Yeah. Like showing up would you just show up at someone's door? Well, actually, some of the people who in my life who still call
do show up at your door.
They are.
So, are we discussing phone calls or are we discussing boundaries?
Jeez. But I can't be alone.
No, I don't think you are, but I think that we're extreme. I really do. I mean, I have friends that complain because I never call them, and I have to say, you're absolutely right. I'm guilty. I think of you often, but I'm phone phobic. I mean, I will, and now I'm getting to the point where I have a hard time answering. So because I've trained myself not to answer. Unless I recognize the number or something.
Exactly.
But I have decided, like, there was a phone call when I was visiting you on your birthday. And I mean, I knew this person, and I knew that she probably wanted, to talk about meeting with me. And it was an intrusion, and I simply didn't pick up the phone. And not only that, I waited 3 days to call her back.
Well, one of the people in my life that calls all the time said to me on one phone call when I did pick up, nobody ever answers their phone anymore. And I said, I know, I don't myself. I said, because, and I tried to, and I thought, why doesn't she get that she's calling and no one's answering? Why doesn't she go to the next step and I think she feels like rejected when so then there's hurt involved if the phone is not answered. And I think it's sort of sad that that means that we're not engaging in conversation as much as we used to.
In chit-chat.
Because we always used to pick up the phone, or we always, if someone came to the door, you'd open it.
Right. But now, just about 99.9% of the phone calls are political calls, somebody asking you for money for a charity, or increasingly, especially if you're older, they're scams, where if you even say yes, you've just probably bought $500 worth of 1970 encyclopedias, and you're going to renew them annually. I mean, it's honestly dangerous to pick up your phone and say anything.
Well, I don't know if I'd go.
No. They record if they say is the lady of the house in, for example, and you say yes. That's what they're after. They're after you're saying yes. They record it and they put it on something that says you gave permission to buy something.
I mean, I have friends that I used to talk to on the phone back in the day who we would never. And yet I don't find texting back and forth enjoyable.
Well, not if you really want to, and not if you have more than.
Not if you really want to talk, but I think people. I don't know. There's something lost here, but there's also some people who, as I said, have not gotten the memo that your phone call, which you think of as just I'm just calling so and so, will be perceived as a intrusion. I mean, is that your intent in making a phone call? Because often that's the way it's going to be perceived.
All right. But I would also like to say that when an old friend who increasingly rarely calls me, I pick it up with delight,
Well, of course.
And, but no, the days where you would call somebody every day and stay on the phone for 4 hours are, thank God, gone.
Do young kids talk on the phone?
No, I don't think so. No.
Well, do they talk? I mean,
they probably game together. They're like on their own devices, and maybe they're talking to each other on their devices as they play a game together remotely. I think that happens. I mean, the world is different, and people, the pandemic made children play together differently.
Right. So I got a feeling that maybe none of this is good.
No, it's isolating.
Right. And yet I don't want people calling me. Well, I even asked a friend once who's, this is a few years ago. I said, can I call you? And she just said, no, text me. Just flat out, no. And she is increasingly isolated, and I'm on both sides of this. I don't want the incoming that I don't want, but on the other hand, I think we're losing something.
Yeah,
I think we're losing something.
Yes,
the ability to connect and converse like we used to. Yeah. And I do remember when all of us had to go through that transition when we realized that people didn't want us to call, right? I mean, I vaguely remember getting angry about it, thinking, that, well, geez, I don't think I should call. I mean, I become anxious. I become like, well, this might not be a good time.
Yeah, no, I get anxious too. And there are a lot of, and the people that I'm calling now live all over the country in different time zones, and some of them still work, and some of them, I just feel like I'm intruding when I call. So I always text and say, can we set up a time to talk?
Mm-hmm. Something tells me that ain't good. It could be that in 20 years, 25 years, will it be considered rude to see someone on the street and
acknowledge them?
Yeah.
I hope not, because I acknowledge strangers, so I would certainly want to be acknowledging people I knew.
God, I don't know. Things change, and we don't even, sort of the ground slips away under our feet, and we're not even fully aware of it. But I do wish in my life that the people who call all the time, I wonder why they're so resistant to this new reality. And I wonder if they don't realize that it's annoying. They're becoming annoyances. That's not what they want to be.
No, and that's what I'm always nervous I am.
Yeah, but if you don't call a lot, you're not an annoyance. I mean, somebody who's calling all
I know, but I am also hurting people's feelings by never initiating a conversation.
Oh, God, I don't know what the right thing is to do. God. I don't know. See the little things that keep me up at night? God. Damn phone. And so, here's the greatest story I came across. Every once in a while, there's a story about a hunter somehow getting shot by the animal he was
I love this story.
Is there, I mean, and then I thought, I know I've read stories like somehow where a deer managed to kill a deer hunter.
Right.
I know, I'm sorry, but how the hell would that happen? I don't get it, but I know I've read stories like that. And that's that classic, news is not, dog bites man, it's man bites dog. When news would be deer kills hunter.
Right. Deer fights back.
Story,
right.
Yeah. This story is about, is from Mexico, and it's a guy, a thief, went into a church and he stole a statue of Saint Michael. And as he's running out of the church with Saint Michael, he trips. And Saint Michael, who is holding a sword,
stabs him. I thought you were going to talk about the dog in the back seat that shot the guy in the front seat.
No, I didn't know about that one. But wait, you'll have to tell me about that in a second. But do you believe it?
No.
The statue.
I'm still trying to figure out why he wanted to steal St. Michael.
Well, he might have, who knows? I mean, maybe it was a nice statue and he was going to sell it to somebody. I don't know. Anyway, St. Michael stabbed him in the neck.
Did he kill him?
No. Carlos Alonso, 32, is recovering in a hospital. St. Michael is unharmed. So I actually looked up. I thought, wait a minute, why would a saint carry a sword? I think of saints as, peaceful saints. I mean, saints and,
Well, Joan of Arc is a saint, and she was a warrior.
That's right. So I looked up St. Michael, and yeah, you betcha. He's always carrying a sword. He's the avenging archangel. And he lived up to his name by stabbing Carlos Alonso in the neck. Didn't kill him.
Just a warning.
Okay. Yeah. So if you go in a church and you're ripping off stuff from the church, and I mean, it's almost like, what did this guy expect?
Right.
If you believe in God, right? He was tempting fate, anyway, by ripping off the church,
right?
But tell me about the dog.
Well, this was last week. There was a dog in the back seat, 2 guys in the front seat going hunting, and they've got the gun. One of the rifles is in the back seat, and the dog steps on the rifle and kills the guy in the front seat.
Oh, my God, he killed him. Whoa.
So, I mean, mostly we have to talk about the moron who had a loaded, unlocked gun in the back seat.
In the back with the dog.
With the dog who was not tethered.
Well, did he kill the moron?
No, he didn't kill the moron. He killed the moron's passenger.
Yeah. Well, don't go hunting with morons. Feel sorry for the dog. The dog is traumatized too. He didn't mean to kill anybody.
No. He knows he did something bad, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I love that. I loved that.
St. Michael's more fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you see how I'm avoiding heavy subjects.
Yeah, go for anything else.
But I'm running out. I'm running out of stuff here.
Well,
that's right. I'm finally using my snowies that I rescued from a dumpster 12 years ago. You're using your snowies on this little bit of snow? How much did you get? I'm not. I used a broom.
Well, that's about what that's what a snowies is good for. It doesn't work on a whole lot.
Wrong. It works up to 4 inches really well. And that's most of our snows, 4 inches.
Okay, well, I have a snowies hanging in my garage in Chicago.
Well, maybe Chicago gets too much snow if you don't use it. I mean, I have 2 and 1 in a box, and I do think they're the greatest. The one in the box could be auctioned off someday.
Yeah, it's valuable. You mean it's a snowies in its original box?
In its original box. It was rescued from the garbage by an astute person who saw it, grabbed it, and informed me, and then got it to me. But his sense was it should be auctioned off. It's valuable, but I just don't know how and when. It's valuable only in terms of people who know about, the snowies and how the fact that it's in the box is sort of like, those collectibles.
Well, I think the next time you're doing one of your benefit things, you put it up, and you've got to be someone that's doing it because it's connected to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it's a hell of a.
Yeah, I'll bet $25 right now.
No, well, hundreds is what I'm looking for. Hundreds. Oh, did you hear of this? It's all depressing. I got everything I've got left here is depressing. Maybe we should talk about M&Ms again.
I walked the dog in 7 below zero weather this morning.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah. It was, and although there are 2 different sites that when I look up Alloway, Wisconsin for temperature, one is invariably 4 degrees warmer. So on mornings like this, I only check that one. Because
so you won't feel
it said it was 8 below, cold. But it felt like 8 below. And then just for fun, I checked the other one, and it said it was 10 below, but felt like 15 below.
No, that just screws with your head.
That's what I said. So I go, 8 below. It's cold enough, and I can't tell the difference. Yeah.
Well, that cold is coming this way, and but we ain't going to see below zero, I don't think. Maybe feels like, but we might see some single digits. And that's because yesterday I said what an easy winter it's been.
Well, yeah, it is your fault.
I know. I knew when I said it that all hell was about to break loose, and I wake up and there's snow on the ground and the temperature's plummeting. But it's okay. It's called winter. And anyway, it's February tomorrow. And that means
it's almost over.
Is around the way. Yeah, I know. It's almost over. Amazing. Yeah,
it is amazing, and I'm looking forward to it.
Me too, really, totally. So there's a bill in West Virginia that is going to require public schools every classroom has to have "In God We Trust" into the wall.
Why?
Well,
just put a penny. You know what? Just put a penny up there. Everybody can Scotch tape a penny on the wall.
Oh God!
Who in their right mind would want to be a teacher? Somebody else is advising teachers to hide their books so that nobody knows what they know.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I saw that. No, they're in Florida, of course. We're
teaching it where they banned AP African American history.
American stuff. Yeah, right. This is all, what's his name, DeSantis doing his performative claptrap, playing to the wackos. And the fact is that teachers in Florida now have been told that any books they have in their classroom cannot be there unless they've been okayed by this special person who has to be in every district looking at every book. And if a book has not been okayed, it has to be covered up. And there are pictures of total classrooms with bare bookshelves. Some teachers have started just putting curtains in front of the books. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
I can't imagine being the parent of school-age children in Florida and not leaving.
Me either. Yeah, I can't either. Unbelievable. Where ignorance is what is taught. It's just one of the books that was banned, and it resonates here in Pittsburgh, was a biography of Roberto Clemente, the great Pittsburgh pirate who died tragically trying to bring aid to earthquake victims. Banned. Roberto Clemente, a man who lived an exemplary life.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of things.
But he's black. I mean, yeah.
You can't teach any history related to anybody of any color. I mean, it's just. I
know, but I do wonder, all you folks who still travel to Florida, are you out of your minds? Stop it! And if you
I mean, I used to go there all the time, and I really enjoyed it. I'm not going back. I've given up lots of stuff.
Vile place. Yeah. And obviously, the people there, the majority of people, are behind this crap.
No, they openly approve. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
I mean,
right.
Even back 20 years, 30 years ago, when I was going there sort of regularly. I mean, it had its own reputation. I remember going into the new Whole Foods in Sarasota and seeing an old lady that looked sort of liberal to me, and I mentioned something, and she grabbed me and she said, "Oh my God, let's talk."
What do you mean she looked?
She just looked like an old hippie.
Oh, okay. She looked like a hippie. That would do it.
Yeah.
Russ writes, I bought my mother, 83 years old, one of those Snowies devices at Pleasant Present on Murray Avenue more than 20 years ago, and she still uses it. Yes! Loves it. Yes! Thank you, Russ. I still use it. I still love it, too. But I think a broom would take care of today. I mean, maybe somebody got...
well, here, you're not going to want to hear this. If a broom would do it, then a leaf blower would do it.
Screw that.
And you know how I know? Because I saw someone using a leaf blower to blow up the sidewalk.
Oh, geez. God. Anything that makes noise, anything that makes a broom, a shovel, you get exercise, and you don't pollute the air and make noise that disturbs your
especially
neighbors.
Because the sound of snow in winter is so delightful. The silence of snow, and it can be interrupted by a shovel or a squeal of delight.
A reasonable sound, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
But there is a quality of sound of winter silence that is just wonderful.
Well,
why I don't mind being out there at 7 below.
I know.
It's so beautiful.
Right, it's beautiful, and everything is quiet. God bless it.
Except the sound of my teeth chattering.
Yeah, that's a bitch. I know.
Actually, it's not my teeth chattering. I'm cozy warm. It's my nose dripping and the sound of me sniffling. Yeah. That turns out to be the only thing that I can't conquer. That and then my sunglasses frosting up. So there you go.
Drippy noses. Yeah. Me too. Okay. Obit. Harold Brown. He's believed to be one of the last. There's still a few out there. Tuskegee Airmen. And he died, 98 years old. And he was almost lynched. But amazingly, not in the United States. Because it says, Harold Brown, Tuskegee Airman who faced lynch mob, dies at 98 is the headline. I thought, oh my God. Then I read the obit. And he was almost lynched, not in the United States, which certainly is a possibility for him, but he was lynched when he bailed out of his P-51 Mustang while he was strafing a German freight train in World War II, and shrapnel from the something hit his plane went down, and he managed to parachute out. But he landed right in the town he'd been strafing, which probably wasn't.
That wasn't good. So it was more like he was an enemy soldier then.
Yes, right. Then he was black. I don't think they cared if he was black or what. Who knows? So the poor guy ends up it actually was in Austria, and he told the story many times. He was immediately apprehended. There was a furious mob of townspeople who came at him. And it became clear they were going to hang him. He says, they took him to a tree. He says, I can still visualize that tree today. And he said, I knew I was going to die. And, but he obviously didn't, because as I said, he lived to be 98. So what the hell happened? It's so often the case, one man who was a constable actually threatened to fire on the crowd to protect this enemy pilot in their midst. What kind of courage would that take? I'd like to know that guy.
Yeah.
So he managed to get Harold Brown away from the mob and barricaded himself with the American in a bar overnight and kept him safe. I mean, that's mind-blowing to me. He then ended up getting him to a prisoner of war camp where he should have been. And that's what this guy knew. This is also in the ending. This is 1945. The war is coming to an end.
Right.
And Harold Brown ends up in a cell with another American who'd been down. It was in a downed plane, and this guy was a Jew. And this guy was scared to death that they'd find out he was a Jew and kill him. And the Tuskegee Airman, Harold Brown, said, hey, look, you just keep your mouth shut. They're never going to know. I can't get rid of my skin. I'm scared to death, too. He said, I don't have a way. He said, I don't have a way to change my skin, and they hate me as much as they hate you. Well, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that was true. Both of them managed to
survive.
And he came back to the segregated United States. In fact, he said the first time I was ever living in an integrated way, living with white people, was in that POW camp.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
Isn't that something? And then he comes back to the country he almost died for and immediately returns to segregation. But you can't tell that story in Ron DeSantis' Florida, and you can't tell it in any red state where they'll jump on you for causing trouble and making white people. What are you trying to do? Make white people feel bad? And this guy came back, and he ended up serving in Korea. And then he got out. He got a PhD. And he was some kind of administrator. Lived a full, long life. And thanks to some Austrian gendarme that had the courage to do that. Unbelievable.
Yeah, a gendarme would be French.
I know, but that's the word that came to my mind because I don't know what you call it.
Because you don't know an Austrian gendarme.
What's an Austrian? It'd be some German name, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that. And have you? Apparently, this is like a really Bone Valley. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's a 9-part podcast released last year, which I guess has set records. And it's a true crime thing. People love this true crime stuff.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm reading about this in the business section of the New York Times a few days ago. And it has to do with the fact that a man who was a judge, I mean, he's a circuit court judge in the godforsaken state of Florida, and he's stepping down because he says he has to spend his time getting this guy out of jail. He can't. Do you believe that? He says, look, he could stay on the bench for another 8 years, but he's stepping down because he is just obsessed with the fact that this man is serving a life sentence for murder that he did not commit. And in fact, that another man incarcerated for another murder has admitted to. And the state of Florida still will not let this innocent man go.
Yeah, it just boggles the mind. I mean, you know, what would stand in front of anyone when faced with the fact that they already got a different guy would want them to keep this guy in? I can't.
I don't know.
And yet I totally get that this guy steps down for the bench to fight for it, and he knows it might take a long time because the law does not admit for mistakes.
The judge is Judge Scott Cupp, and he says, I need to do this. I have to do this. I am done sitting idly by and letting the state assault this man. And that's what they've done. They've lied about him. They've assaulted his character. And I am not taking it anymore. So this is a guy who's just lost. I mean, and the guy who's in jail has been there most of his life. I mean, if he gets out, he still will have spent, I don't know, what is it, 30 years? They won't let him out. And the guy in jail, a guy named Leo Schofield, since he's been in jail, he's earned a college degree from a seminary. He leads a prison ministry. He married a woman who came and was working in the jail. They've been married for 30 years. They have never been alone together. They adopted 2 children. It says here that his disciplinary record is as close to spotless as it gets for someone who has spent decades in penitentiaries. But the prosecutors show up at every parole board hearing to continue to say he's a remorseless killer who should die in prison.
Because he won't express remorse for an act he didn't do.
Right. It's killing his wife.
But how can nobody show up at the parole hearing to say, except that he didn't do it, and here's the guy that did, and he's in jail, and he admits he did it?
He confessed that. He
that's here's what I don't get. Why do the prosecutors, I don't know why they are so invested in keeping him in, but B, why aren't they refutable?
I don't know. Stories like this that just makes you go nuts. But again, in these stories, you see people still managing. I don't know. And people doing extraordinary things. The judge walking away from his, this position, a tenured position he holds. And just like the gendarme in Austria, sometimes people do amazing things. And but
they can just do the right thing. They have the courage to do the right thing in the face of a bunch of people that seem hell-bent on doing the exact wrong thing. Not easy. It's not easy.
And oh my God. So anyway, be like the good guys. Be like the good guys and not these bad guys. And so often the bad guys are the people supposedly upholding law. As in this case, the prosecutors, the DAs, the legal system, the punitive judicial system we have, and wow. Or the cops that kill. The good guys, you cannot tell them because they wear robes or they have badges. Those are not necessarily good guys. Those can be the bad guys. But some people believe in the cartoon reality, right? I got a badge. I'm a good guy.
Well, just ask Herschel Walker.
Yeah, exactly. And you see my badge? I got a badge. Okay. Well, that's it. Well, we were sorry. I could have ended on M&Ms, but there we have it. And I thank you, Susan.
Well, we even ran over. Okay.
Yeah, we done did.
All right. Well, it's about to be February 1st. Enjoy the last day of January.
I'm going to. Okay. And toodaloo to it, too.
Yeah,
and, drive safely, Susan.
I will.
Okay. All righty. Bye. Bye-bye. And bye to you guys, too. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay? Jeez. Hang up the phone on us. Goodbye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.